Welcome back to part 3 of buying your first instrument. This is what you'll need to know after you buy it. Doing the editing and we do that song thing.
Number 1.
And this is the part that a lot of people probably don't want to know, and it should go without saying, but you will need to learn something about basic music theory. You may not, but I'll tell you what. I don't know why I suddenly just got I said boy. I just turned into Foghorn Leghorn.
I'll tell you right now.
I'm gonna tell you right now. If you don't have no timing, your music's gonna suck, yeah.
I think you say music theory, people are like, I don't want to know the circle of fifths. I just want to play guitar. But we're not talking about.
We're talking about enough to where you can play your instrument and also communicate what you're doing with other people. Because if you don't want to ever learn these things, fine, that'll be great. But you're going to be stuck in your room by yourself because nobody's going to want to play with you because your timing is terrible, or you don't realize that you're not playing in an actual concert pitch that your bass player can't tune to.
You don't know the names of your strings.
You don't know the names of your strings. All right, so learning some basic music theory. Now, that doesn't mean you have to learn everything about everything.
No.
But there are some basics that are going to help you play with others. Things like knowing the notes. You don't need to know every scale. You don't have to know your Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Mixolydian.
Yes. I know every note on the fretboard.
It does not matter, but there are some basics you do want to know. First, just basic concepts that are going to help you communicate what your ideas are to others, or just help you write your own music. Point is, you're not going to get away with not knowing anything because nobody's that talented. No. I don't think it's possible, really.
And I think you'll accidentally learn stuff.
Yeah, so if you are that talented, you're gonna figure it out by default.
Yeah.
By proxy, you will learn music theory.
Well, and let's say guitar. I mean, you're going to learn some chords. You're going to have to learn the names of the chords because when you look at chord charts or tablature, they're going to put the name of the chord. It's going to be really frustrating if you choose not to know the name of the chord, where the root note is, things like that. So just basic stuff is all you really need at the beginning.
And you don't need to go get a college degree about it. It's just, there are some things. And you might find yourself more interested in it later. But there are some things like timing, tempo, tuning. Those are probably the 3 big ones.
Yep.
Timing, tempo, and tuning. Because they're not all the same thing. I've heard a lot of people talk about all the tempo shifts in this song. When the tempo actually does not shift at all, it's the time signature. They went from 4/4 to 3/4 or something like that.
Yeah.
So, again, you don't want to be that guy that can't describe things properly, because I'll get you.
Yeah. But even, honestly, I think a lot of us took music appreciation. Even that is probably enough to get you going. You learned the basics of music theory in that class, and I think you also learned a lot about tempo. The time signatures like Joe was talking about, that's all in music theory. So if that's a class you never took, go to your local junior college, sign up, pay a little bit of money, and take that class. It's going to go a huge, long way for you.
And again, shameless plug, once again, we do have lessons guys here. But if you've never had any music theory, do yourself a favor. Yeah. Learn the basics. It won't take you much time at all.
So many resources. You got. I know online there's several that are just Theory 101. One-on-one guitar lessons here at Leitz you can do. There's tons of resources out there, so there's no excuse not to learn the basics.
And one of my favorite basics is
Number 2.
Tuning your instrument.
Tune.
This may not be something that piano keyboard players have to worry about, because a digital piano doesn't have to be tuned.
Yeah, but if you have a
bass,
piano,
drums, guitars, mandolins, do you have to tune those every time? Yes, the answer is yes. You always need, or at least check your tuning every time you play. Learning how to tune, there's a million different ways to learn that. There's the old pitchfork. There's the old pitch pipe.
There's the old perfect pitch.
There's my dog has fleas, where they don't even change them.
Yeah.
My recommendation is to get yourself some kind of chromatic tuner or drum dial if you're a drummer.
If you're a drummer, yep.
Because if you've not developed an ear for pitch, you have no idea what you're going for.
Yeah.
You have no basis.
Drums are tough. I'm not a drummer, so hearing a certain, it's tough. So I would definitely use some kind of drum dial.
Absolutely. And if you record, oh man, that's when you finally realize whether you have learned the art of tuning or not. It's the first time you record yourself. You will know when you start stacking guitars and bass and drums. It gets pretty obvious pretty quick, and you might wonder why it sounds so bad, and it's because the tuning's not in. Yeah. It's just not spot on. So a chromatic tuner, such as something like this guy right here.
Little Snark Mini, right?
Very tiny, really easy, inexpensive. We have, for guitar players, you're in luck. We sell one of the best clip-on tuners you can get for $14.99. Yes. And trust me, it's worth not sounding like a seagull getting its neck broken. It's totally worth it. And also, too, it'll help train your ear because eventually you'll be able to hear that's D, that's A, that's G, that's B flat.
You can, when you're just playing, say you're playing a song live, you start hearing maybe a string go out of tune, you know exactly which one to hit, either when there's a pause or a break in the song or in between songs.
Mm-hmm. And you'll know it, and you can do it quickly without your audience ever being the wiser.
Exactly.
So, and while there are other techniques, some people will do you're tuning your guitar to fourths. You hit the 5th fret of your E, and that's A, or you hit the natural harmonics, things like that. Again, if you've never done those things before, if you've never tuned a guitar and you have no music theory or anything behind you, you have no basis on which to compare that to. So definitely buy yourself a tuner, a drum dial. It'll save your life.
Because don't spend all your time tuning your guitar. Tune your guitar up and play more. That's really the goal.
Yeah, tuning your guitar is not fun.
Tune your guitar up and play.
Playing is fun.
And our guitar tech's going to talk more about that. If you have your guitar tuned up, you're playing with another guitar player, but yet something doesn't sound in tune, it's probably going to be your intonation. And a separate video that our tech's going to do is going to go into what that is and how to fix that. But we're really just talking about basic tuning, but kind of want to slip that in there.
Mm-hmm. So,
number 4. Oh, wait, we're on number 3. Yeah, we're 3.
Wait. Out of order. Number 3. So, kind of talked about it a little bit on the last part of this video. But
I got ahead of ourselves. A little bit. No, it was a segue.
But when you are buying your first instrument, storage, where, how, what not to do. These are very important things. I had an old drummer that left his drums out in the garage for a long time. And not only did it get completely covered in spiders and who knows, maybe that rat. But the big thing was his shells actually warped as a result. And I believe drummers call that being out of round. Same thing can happen to your guitars and your amps.
Don't leave it.
Weather can have a huge effect on electronic devices, tubes. Also, wood is a big thing.
Solid wood.
These things, most of them at least, are wood, wire, and magnets. And if you live in Florida, you should already be aware that if it doesn't rot, it rusts.
Corrodes.
So, definitely consider these things. My rule of thumb is if you're not comfortable, your instrument is not comfortable.
Yeah.
So where you store it makes all the difference. Also, too, things like storing your guitar in cold weather or excessive heat. Not only can it do physical damage to your instrument, but you'll notice things like if you have it in a cold room for a long time, you go to play your guitar and everything is sharp. Because what's actually happening is the physics of cold weather on metal. It's contracting, so therefore it's raising the pitch. You can also add more string pull. You can also make your instrument maladjusted. Worst case scenario, acoustic guitars. How many times have we seen bridges?
Oh, acoustics.
They're not supposed to be like this. They're supposed to be like this, not this.
One of the big things we were talking about stands and things like that. We love it. You get a stand, you put your guitar in a stand, then you stick it in front of a window. And that's where you store it. Not good. That direct sunlight, that cold and hot fluctuations between nighttime and daytime, it all just contracts and expands the wood, causing a lot of unnecessary strain. Don't store any guitar or instrument in front of a window if you can.
Absolutely.
If you can help it.
Trunks.
Oh,
bad. Don't want to leave it in there. It's not that you couldn't bring it in there and transport, but you don't want to keep your guitar in.
If you got band practice at night, you got work in the morning. It's the middle of summer. You're gonna
take your guitar.
Take it in there with you. I don't care if you think it looks stupid. Take it into work with you. Store it in the employee break room. Do what you got to do.
What looks stupider? Bringing your guitar to work or buying a new guitar because you ruined your other one?
Yeah.
Who's stupid now?
Touche.
So don't let us think we're beating you up. Just make sure you store your guitar.
It's things you just might not know. You might not think about, especially if it's your first instrument.
And like I said, if you're not comfortable, your instrument's not. If you wouldn't treat a baby that way, don't treat your guitar or your drums that way.
Yep. And think about what's going to be around and interacting with that instrument. Animals, pets, children. Don't keep it out in the open if you're not watching it. If you do have things, I like wall hangers. It gets them up off the floor. Hercules will lock it in, so even if it does get bumped, it's not going to fall off.
And then, of course, with those, be mindful that if you do keep your guitars out, like I do, a lot of mine, you're going to have to combat things like dust. So keep your guitars, go once a week. I usually go through when I'm doing my regular house cleaning, clean up the guitars because it does get into the electronics. You start hearing cracking when you hit a switch or a knob. It's stuff that happens. You don't notice it with a lot of normal electronics because they don't operate the same way that a guitar or an amp does. But trust me, when your volume pot starts cracking, it gets a little scratchy. It's really unnerving, especially when you're doing that very loudly through an amplifier.
Ooh, you'll hear it.
And then you think that there's something wrong when all in all you've got dog hair or dust in your instrument. So just be mindful of how you store your instrument. It does matter. So, knowing that, much like your pots and switches, guitars, keyboards, drums, mostly electronic ones, they have features.
If it comes with a manual, read it. I know that sounds like something you would never do, but it's there for a reason. It's because there's, especially with keyboards, with electric drum kits,
or electric
guitars.
Like
this
is a very classic design with a lot of modern features that a lot of people may not know what to do with. It has an extra Sustainiac with a 3-way switch. It's also got its normal 5-way, and a lot of guitar players don't know the versatility that is just right here.
Yeah. Knowing
the features to go, well, I did want a more mellow sound. Oh, neck pickup, of course. Oh, it's not really as bold as I want. Oh, it's got a bridge pickup, bolder.
Yeah.
So
play with it, experiment with it. Figure out what the switches do and what the tone knob does, what the volume roll off does.
It can absolutely make a difference in the playability and enjoyment of your instrument. One of the things I love about my P-Bass is how deceptively simple and versatile it is. There's so many sounds you can conjure up just by adjusting the volume and tone knobs.
Right.
Without changing anything else. And you can go from thumpy and Beatlesy to spanky and slappy just by how you turn the knobs. It makes a difference. So knowing your gear and not only the benefits, but also too back to the wood. If you know you have an all solid wood Gibson, you need to know that so you know to keep it properly humidified, hydrated,
40 to 60
temperature. So things. I think a lot of folks with especially with all the features that cram into so many pedals and amps nowadays, you might think you need to go out and buy something else when all along that feature was already built into your instrument.
Yeah.
So, and then you get a look from one of us and go, and you're what are you playing?
Yeah. Well,
you know you have that, right?
Well, even be able to try, electric acoustics. They have a built-in preamp with a tuner, and all of a sudden their tuner stops working, and they bring it in, going, my tuner stopped working, but they didn't know that there's a battery compartment right back in the back. You pull, so little features like that. And of course, we do our best to explain all the features. Sometimes people don't ask about all the features; they just find a guitar they like and they pick it up, and we do our best. But those are those kind of things that we could save you a lot of time and headache if you
a lot of head scratching and wondering.
Yeah.
So, but. Get to know your gear. It can enrich your life and also can save you the hassle of either making repairs that you didn't need to make or making additions you didn't need to make or selling your prized instrument because you didn't think it could do what it did. You never know. So consider that.
This segues really good into
Number 5.
I guess we could just say basic maintenance.
Yeah, I mean we got this because the next two things. But so how to change strings and heads is really important. Of course, we sell a lot of guitars, we sell a lot of drums here. So, do you need to change your strings?
No, they're still good.
When's the last time you changed them?
Never. I mean, I bought the guitar like 7 years ago.
And it's not staying in tune?
I like the way it sounds.
No.
I had a buddy like that. Oh my god.
So, guitars, you will need to change your strings.
Not just because you broke one.
No, and if you break one string, just change them all.
Because whether you... here's the thing. One, financially. It's just cheaper in the long run to buy a full set than it is to buy one string. But the other reason is you can see it when you look at it. One string is brighter and less dingy than all the others. That translates sonically.
Yes.
So it's going to sonically or sound-wise be just as bright as it looks, while the other ones are not bright.
Right.
Dingy.
So
there's going to be a sonic difference.
Yes. There are strings that can last a little bit longer, but that doesn't mean you don't ever have to change them.
Oh,
you will need to change them eventually. Same thing with drum heads.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe not wait until you punch a hole in it.
It's not when it's time. Oh man. Just because you don't hit the bottom resonant head does not mean that doesn't need to be changed.
Doesn't mean it's
the
not
top
being
is
stretched,
the top is your tuning. The bottom head of your drum is your tone. You have brand new tuning, ancient tone. It's not. How much is going to improve is going to be varied. And also too, again, this is going for people buying their first instrument.
Yeah.
But down the road, when you do things like record, you can be thrown out of some recording studios because you didn't bring an extra set of strings or drum heads to change, and they'll just refuse to record you that day. I know.
Yes.
So you really need to. The importance of changing those things periodically is just like changing the oil in your car.
It is.
Just because there's oil in your car does not mean it's good oil.
Nope.
Just because you have strings that are physically still attached to your guitar does not mean that those strings are any good.
Yes.
Same thing with heads. You would be surprised at how much it brings it back to life.
Gotta regain some life.
Get your life back when you change. And honestly, for guitarists, I can't speak for drummers in this game, but for guitarists, changing the strings on your instrument, whether you want to or not, is the least expensive way to improve the tone.
Oh yeah. It's a good tune-up time. You change strings maybe once, twice a month. That way you can intonate it, make sure it's in tune all the way. You can check your neck, or when you take it to our guitar tech, he's going to do all that kind of stuff. We can get a good setup for you because when the weather changes, your instrument's going to adjust. Especially your guitar, it definitely changes with the season, and you're going to need to make sure that it's playing the way it's supposed to.
And if you are already currently listening to my voice, that means you are watching this on YouTube and you are watching one of our Leitz music videos, which we have Eric's Angry Tech videos on how to change strings. So if you don't know and maybe you don't want to ask somebody how to do it, or maybe you just, you have the strings already and you want to take a crack at it, we have a video with our
It's pretty good.
how to change strings.
Yes.
You can watch Marcus's basic Marcus on how to change a drum head.
Yeah.
I learned something from Marcus's video. There's stuff I didn't know
Yeah.
about changing drum heads that I've learned. So
Yeah.
the resources are out there. Of course, there's probably other ones too. So if you are reluctant to change these things because you don't know how to do it and you don't want to screw it up. How many times have you heard that? I just didn't want to screw it up. Well, there's people like us that you can come see. We can do it for you.
We'll do it. But I say
Our tech charges, but he also has a video where he shows you how to do it for free.
that's right. And then maybe you mess it up once or twice. Third time you get it right, and boom, you know how to change your strings.
It's like anything; it does take practice. But
Sure, and it's okay. It's a $5 pack of strings. You mess one up, okay, not the end of the world.
So change your strings, change your heads. It's a good thing. So
Number 6.
cleaning and care.
Oh yes.
So
Now this okay.
would you when you're bathing? Would you use like lemon pledge?
No.
Oh,
No, that would.
well, I put it on my guitar.
What part of your guitar?
All of it,
Ooh.
especially the electronics.
There
good
goes your
stuff.
finish.
So clean and care, and kind of back to the.
Well, this is the thing. For one, should you clean your guitar? That depends. It depends on the kind of look you want on your guitar. Now,
If you're going for that, I don't care about how I look.
there's some there's some people that do not ever want to clean the guitar, and that's whatever that's fine. But you still should you need to maintain it, and then if you are going to clean your guitar, you need to make sure, or clean your instrument, you need to make sure you're using the right stuff on the right parts.
Absolutely, because you don't want to do damage to it by not buying the proper item for it. I preach on about an instrument doesn't matter what it looks like, it's how it plays and how it sounds. But I know that I'm probably alone on that most of the time.
Yeah.
So if you say you have a nice Gibson guitar with a very thin nitrocellulose finish, you don't want to ruin it by scratching it up with a paper towel.
Right.
Or whatever, random thing you had laying around the house.
Using lemon oil to try to polish.
Lemon oil is not cleaner.
No.
Just like some cleaners are not polishes, some polishes are not cleaners.
Right.
They are different, so make sure that you buy the right stuff for what you're doing, because some finishes, if you do the wrong thing, there's no going back.
Nope.
They can cloud, they can scratch. Some of them can actually be eaten off entirely.
Yeah.
And it's they're not crabs. They
Household
don't grow
cleaners.
back.
Household cleaners should not be instrument cleaners.
They're not. Just like
No.
you wouldn't mop your floor with lemon oil, just like you shouldn't clean your guitar with Pine Sol.
There you go.
There's a reason they're different. It's not some marketing ploy to just sell you something else that you didn't need. And to be honest, 65 polish from Dunlop is inexpensive. One bottle for most people is a lifetime supply.
And pretty safe. There's also,
Extremely
I know we're
safe.
kind of talking about guitars, but there's great electronic cleaners for faders if those get a little scratchy. There's nothing wrong with cleaning out the potentiometers on your guitars or your amps and spraying those. So there's special stuff to use on that kind of thing to help maintain that. Even cleaning input jacks or output jacks. Those are all kinds of things that you can do. A lot of people wait until they're actually hearing an issue with it, but if you go ahead and cleaning your amp once a year, just doing that, go ahead and take care of it before it becomes an issue.
And when it comes to things like dust, I've used to use just a simple soft bristle paintbrush. You'd be surprised at how well that
It's
works.
probably on every guitar tech's bench.
I've got one on mine, but I've also got the Nomad tool, which we'll have to show.
I'll show you a
For you
picture.
guitar players,
Yeah.
this is the bee's knees. It's one of the best tools you'll ever buy. It's one of the best use of under $10 you could ever spend.
Yeah.
When you think about that, that's less than a trip to Burger King most of the time.
Yep.
So it'll keep your guitar looking clean. It also makes cleaning and maintenance a lot easier because what used to take me half an hour to clean a guitar now takes seconds.
Yeah.
Literally seconds, because you don't have to get in every little nook and cranny with your polishing cloth. This thing is designed for quick, speedy, and I dare say enjoyable. It's almost fun because it's so fast.
And if some of this scares you, if you're like, hey, I don't know what to use on this, our guitar tech is going to do a video. So the Angry Tech is actually going to do a follow-up video on some of the big points we talked about in this series and go into it in even more detail. So look out for that. That's going to be coming after this series.
And if you need any advice on what cymbal cleaners, groove juice, polishes, and cleaners, deoxit, come see us.
We will let
stuff
you know.
We stock here in the store that we are all familiar with because we all use it. So come see us.
Measure twice, cut once.
Yes.
Better ask questions before you start putting stuff on your instrument.
Inconspicuous spots. This is even
Start on the back.
Start on the back.
Start on the part that nobody's going to see. Anyway.
Speaking of importance,
Number 7.
Talked a lot about what to do, and now the most obvious one. Practice. You have to practice. You are not going to get better at an instrument by
reading guitar magazines
or looking at your instrument or talking about what you bought.
Look at my pretty guitar hanging up on the wall.
Oh man, I bought so many pedals this week.
How's it sound? I don't know.
Don't know. I don't play. I never get around to it because I'm too busy worrying about other things.
Yep.
That mean nothing.
And we're not saying sit down and do 2 hours of practice every night because that's not everybody has time for that. But even
5 minutes when you have time.
There's so many there's like a 5-minute practice routine. I know our guitar teacher here, or drum teacher, can definitely create different types of practice routines for you depending on your schedule. It's just important to pick that instrument up as often as possible.
And if the sound of the word practice is a bit too studious, I like to call it playing. Your practice is for football. Practice is for ballet.
Yeah.
I don't practice guitar. I play guitar. I don't practice drums. I play drums.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like a chore when you say practice. So maybe not even practice. You just gotta play in order to get better at it. Of course, repetition is key. If you do anything enough times, you're bound to get better at it. Whether it's playing a scale or a chord or whatever, it gets easier and easier to do with time, just like anything does. So don't give up on it and don't get discouraged. Your chances are you're probably not going to be very impressed with your skill level for a while, if ever. Usually I'm my harshest critic. I'm usually the first one to say I suck.
People ask me all the time, how long are you playing? I'm like, I haven't practiced enough to even tell you.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, I'm just not, I know I'm nowhere near where I could have been if I would have put more time and effort into it. And still at that point, we have life that happens and you still you want to be able to get better at certain aspects of playing your instrument. But life does happen. But I guess the last tip then...
Just don't get discouraged.
Right, don't get discouraged.
Don't get discouraged. Never has a band done so much with so little.
Yes. Don't get discouraged.
Don't get discouraged because, I don't know if I encountered this necessarily, but because I always just had fun with it, and I was always happy with the amount of progress I was making because I didn't do this because I was being forced into it.
No.
I did it because I just genuinely enjoy music, and this is why I play. It's a bit of a release. It's cathartic. It's therapeutic.
Sure.
It's just fun and invigorating. It's all these different things. There's so many things that go into it. So don't get discouraged if you can't play 1,000 beats per minute with, sweeping arpeggios and double kick and playing bass chords while playing melodies and switching hands and acrobatics and impressing your friends, and they tell you suck, but...
Yeah, learning an instrument is not easy for most people. It's not. It's a skill that you have to learn, and it's not easy.
And even if it is easy for you, it takes time to truly become more and more skilled.
Yep.
So don't get discouraged. One of the best things I can say is if you have the ability is to play with other people, because I think that when you not only have a benchmark, especially if they're better at it than you,
sure,
great, you have something to look at it to. And if you are the weakest link in your band, that's a good place to be because that means you are playing with better musicians than yourself, and you always have something to strive to go towards. Always have something to look up to. And
you might even learn something, too, from some of those more skilled musicians that have been playing.
Absolutely. And if nothing else, it's boot camp. It'll whip you into shape real fast when you realize you're dragging everybody else behind.
Yep.
So it'll be a motivator for you, if nothing else.
Of course.
And if it doesn't, then you're going to quit and see rule number 1.
Yeah.
Of video number 1. See, it's all come full circle.
Don't get discouraged. Why do I keep saying discouraged?
Discouraged! Can you feel that? For fans of repetitive vocal phrasing.
And everybody learns at different, different rates. And you might have a friend that you and him started or you and her started at the same time and they've got this. Don't even let that discourage you. You're going to learn at your own pace. You're going to learn what you want to learn. And you will, if you set the right goals and you set the right practice routines, you will get there.
Playing routines.
Practice
is a dirty word in my book. Yes. You don't practice.
We won't say that.
But if you notice that you have some slumps, because we all have it there, whether it's because life happens, say, kid, or maybe you have other things that are keeping you from getting better and practicing on a regular basis. I said practice.
Yeah.
Ooh, see, I'm out of practice. Oh, say it again! So,
but no,
you go through spurts. Sometimes there's those times where you just go, I've been playing the same thing forever and I'm getting nowhere. And then you have that day where you have the epiphany and it suddenly sinks in and then you're doing things that you didn't even realize you could do.
Yeah, I know. I think for me it was like being able to play a certain song that I just couldn't do the first year or two of playing guitar. And then one summer it was like, boom, I can play Under the Bridge by Red Hot Chili Peppers. I was like, wow. Oh, that's awesome.
Oh my God.
That's awesome. So it's you'll get there.
Those peaks and valleys are where it's going to motivate you to the next step in your progression. So don't get discouraged. Keep doing it. And if I can offer any bit of advice off topic, if you don't feel you're getting somewhere on this instrument, go to a different one for a little while.
Yeah.
It costs money, but hey, drumming's fun too. So it's playing bass and keyboards. And then by the time you've gotten bored with that, you go back to guitar again.
Yeah, take a break from it. There's nothing wrong with that too.
So don't get discouraged. Take breaks when you need to. Be multi-instrumental if you have to. Think about something else. Try a different style.
Yeah.
That helps too, I think, a lot.
Pull yourself out of, where you kind of stay in the pocket. Take yourself out of it.
If you're not getting better at metal, try some blues stuff. You'd be surprised at how awesome some blues licks sound with metal, and vice versa.
Get yourself out of the comfort zone, for sure.
Totally. Try something different.
This almost feels like another video of us doing ways to get out of a writer's block or something like that. Maybe we'll explore this.
Maybe we will. Maybe I will. Maybe I will. Our people are looking into that.
That's pretty good.
I was not going to give myself immunity on that, but we are looking into that, so I may do that. We're making music great again.
You need to wrap this up before we get in trouble. I hate mixing politics and music.
Oh God, it's just so hard not to.
Isn't there some big speech tonight that he's doing?
It's probably on right now.
Anyway, well, that was pretty good. That was
Week
fun.
3.
So, how do you want to wrap us up, Joe?
With a nice, pretty
Maybe say if you have any questions or any comments or things that we missed that we should add, or things that maybe you think we might be wrong on, let us know. Tell us. We want to talk about it.
We'd love to. Great. Thanks for giving me more ideas on how to do videos you hate. Sucker.
Perfect. But no, hopefully this is helpful. Hopefully this will help. Really, the goal of this was to get thinking about, hey, I want to play guitar, I want to play drums. What do I need to think about before I get in there? When you're in that actual music store, things to think about. And then once you get that thing home, how to take care of it.
Absolutely. So, thank you guys for watching. And even if you already are playing, hopefully you just had some entertainment for a minute. So, you're welcome.
I'm Rick.
I'm Joe.
Thanks.
Goodbye.